Hello, hello,
If
hello.
you,
Welcome. Thank you guys for joining the local LLM Forge. This is episode 1.
hey
If you
Seema,
want to install, if you want to install, if you want to install LLMs locally, this is the place to join. Hey Johnny, just an FYI, I muted you, all right? When you got that call, so you need to unmute.
for my big debut in 30 seconds. I understand.
Welcome to Season 11 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern. This month, we are broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead after-school program. Here is April's weekly lineup. Mondays, we take the training wheels off and run AI locally in the local LLM Forge. Tuesdays, we explore accessible AI apps for rapid learning and self-improvement in the Learner's Toolkit. Wednesdays, we build a company of one from scratch in Solopreneur Systems. Thursdays, we uncover bite-sized productivity and creative tools in Hidden AI App Showcase. Fridays, we push the boundaries of human longevity and biohacking in the Biological Upgrade. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome back again to Season 11 of Airhead Institute. Today is episode 1 of Local LLM Forge, and I'm your mostly human host, AI Johnny. Your data is currently a hostage. Every prompt you send to the cloud is a prayer for privacy and a bill you can't control. Is your quote-unquote intelligence actually yours if someone else owns the switch? Today, we're cutting the umbilical cord. We're moving beyond the training wheels of browser-based AI to help you build a private, sovereign powerhouse right on your desktop. This isn't about security, it's about speed, raw autonomy, and the local control. In 45 minutes, you'll stop being a subscriber and start being an architect. If you aren't running locally, you're just renting a brain. And to show you how, here's AI Junior. I found him yesterday vibrating from an 11-shot espresso, whispering sweet nothings to a Mac Mini. Apparently, they've reached a telepathic understanding about neural weights, and the rest of us mortals aren't invited to yet. AI Junior, what's that all about?
Hey, Johnny, that is funny as heck. Welcome guys to the Forge. Let's do a little housekeeping before we build. This is an immersive class, and if it's a hands-on technical class, so if you guys don't understand everything, that we show you today, don't worry. This is only episode 1. So for the entire month of April, we will be going a little bit deeper and deeper, and you'll pick up a little bit along the way. So again, if you don't understand words like parameters or how latent space operates, don't worry, just hang tight. If you're on Zoom, ask your questions real time. If you're on socials, there's a 30-second delay. So type your questions in early, and we'll see you. We're not actually ignoring you. All right, yeah, Johnny, that was actually pretty funny. We'll get into the parameters and the weights a little bit later. So check this out. Yeah, Johnny, are you ready for the wow factor?
I am ready for the wow factor, my man.
All right. So check this out, guys. So what we want to do is we want to show you guys that having a local large language model itself is not a hard thing to do, right? Now, if you actually have not very powerful hardware, it might be a hard thing to do, but let's ignore that for a second. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my screen here. This is a terminal window. Now, if you guys have ever seen a terminal window or a command prompt window, it might be a little bit scary. You may have to type in a few commands, but don't worry, it's actually pretty easy. All right, yeah, Johnny, I'm just gonna type echo hello. Can you see that on the screen? That looks good.
I see it.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you what we're going to do today. So we're going to show you that if we were to type Ollama, right, and we were to say start, it actually presents a nice little interface. It looks a little bit outdated, but don't worry, it's actually pretty easy. It says I want to chat with a model, so I'm going to actually press enter, and when I actually do that, it's going to start up a local Ollama model on my machine. We're using Gemma today. That's the one from Google. And yeah, Johnny, just so we show that this is not pretend or anything, throw me something you want to actually just ask this local LLM.
I want to know if anybody on our Zoom chat besides Professor Silva and Abdul even understand what this screen is. Ask it that.
All right. So Abdul actually asked a question in what Abdul actually asked for those who want to follow along. What type of terminal is this? Is this Bash PowerShell? This is actually a Z shell command. So Abdul, again, this is the technical class. If people do understand these details, you'll get to it in the if you're on a Windows machine, you'll get to it by type in CMD or command prompt. And if you're on Mac, you actually get to it by open up the terminal. If you're on Linux, you actually open up just a terminal as well. So hopefully that clarifies everything. So we'll actually get into installation later. So we'll definitely clarify a whole bunch of things. So on the Ollama itself, what you want me to ask, Johnny? What is a terminal?
I want to know who's going to win the NCAA championship game tonight.
Oh, wow. It's not going to know that, but, we'll try. Who is going to win let's ask you some historical information. Who won the NCAA championship
in 2025?
I don't know if it's trained on 2025 data in 20. Let's say 2020. Let's say 2020 or 2022. Let's try that. All right. So what we're actually doing is we're asking our local model. We're not going out to ChatGPT. We're not going out to, Gemini on the web. Our data is not actually being sent over the actual wire to these large language models and actually being captured. You can actually see it's coming back here. It's thinking. It says, analyze the request. The user is asking who won the NCAA championship in 2022. It identified it as like a sports context. And look, it actually responded. Let me actually, remove that little, or maybe bring it up a little bit higher. So it says the winner of the NCAA men's basketball championship in 2022 was the Yukon Huskies. Now I don't know anything about basketball, so I can't verify that, but we can do a quick Google search. Does that make sense, yeah, Johnny?
Yeah, they're back tonight. They're playing Michigan in the championship tonight, and it looks like because you didn't specify in your question that it was basketball, that it gave you the baseball and everything else. But that's pretty cool. So what you're saying is, you're not communicating with ChatGPT or Grok or any of those ones that are off in the stratosphere. Mm-hmm. You're not using a web browser to talk to the cloud. You're actually doing this on your local box.
That is correct. Is there anything else you want me to ask it? We can't do things like ask the weather. It doesn't have Google access. It doesn't have anything. It's really stuck on our local machine.
How about the 20th prime number?
Wow, the 20th primary. You might crash my box, yeah, Johnny.
I could probably do that. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. There's 5.
Let's see.
It's going to be up in the thousands.
So it says, what is the 20th prime number? It's actually thinking right now. Let's see what it actually comes back with.
There we go. 13, 17. There we go. 11, 37, 41, 40. Yeah, those are right.
Wow, it's saying need to find the exact prime number. It's actually thinking, and it's actually coming back.
I already said it's 67. 67.
There you go. 20th. Well, it's saying it's 71. So I think it's actually hallucinating already. It says I need to find the next prime number after 67. So 19 seems to be 67, but 20 is 71. Okay,
yeah,
so
it is 71.
Yeah. Okay, it's not hallucinating. All right, yeah, Johnny. So this is the actual local model we're actually talking to on our local machine, and we're actually going to show you guys how to actually do this. I actually even took it a step further. What can this model do? And I actually made it create, and now it's going to take a little bit of time, but I actually made it create an HTML file, and it actually created this file for me. Where is my, here it is. So what I did is I made it create a HTML file, just HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And I said, hey, can you show me, just create a visual for me for an AI parameter complexity visualizer. So I want to see if we actually have, 1 million parameter model, and we have a, I think is a 900 million parameter model, like a 1 billion parameter model. What would it look like? How can I visualize that? It actually thought of how to write HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And it says, let me generate that HTML file for you. It generated that file, and I was actually pretty impressed that it actually gave me this on my local machine. So it's actually, we'll get into what parameters are. If you don't understand, we're going to explain. And we'll explain how to set all this up on your machine. Does anybody have any question on what we just showed? Because not how we showed it, what we showed. So we showed a local large language model running on my local machine. I was able to actually ask it a bunch of questions, and was able to actually even show creating a HTML web page. Does anybody have any questions on what we actually showed? All right. Adrian,
So
thanks for
hang on. You just built an entire educational web app in 10 seconds without typing a single line of code by yourself?
That is correct. Adrian, Dutch, thanks for joining. Who else did I see joining? If I missed anybody, I apologize. But thank you guys for joining the show. And everybody in the live stream. All right, so AI Johnny, let's get to the word of the day to actually go through what is actually going on behind the scenes and set up the foundations for all models. Okay.
Well, hang on. I want to talk a little bit more about that app you just wrote. So the neural nodes connecting. So I don't really understand what this application does.
Yeah, so if we get to the word of the day, I'll come back to the application because this is actually showing. I just wanted to see if it could build me an application, and the application is the number of parameters. I want you to visualize and show me how does the neural network visually work in terms of these neural networks, right? So this is a 1 million parameter neural network, and this is a 1 billion parameter neural network. Now I'm using the word parameters over and over and over.
I'm guessing you built that with a prompt of some sort?
I did. I actually sent this to my local model and says, give me a HTML file that is JavaScript, CSS, and then output to me to a file and give me an application I can actually explain.
I got it. Well, while I introduce the word of the day, maybe you could grab that prompt and throw it in the comments. Then I'll do it later on today.
Yep.
We
can. All right. So let's get to the word of the day to understand what parameters mean.
Yep. So this visual brings us to our word of the day, which is parameters. The formal definition is these are the internal variables of a structural knowledge connections that a neural network learns and adjusts during its training phase. Well, that's cool.
Exactly. Go ahead, Adrian. Johnny.
So what you're saying is, so my definition of parameter is just like a variable that you would use inside of a math problem, but I'm going back to 1983 college. So these parameters are actual variables that are used in creating a neural network.
That is correct. Yeah. So there are actually things that you can actually adjust during the training phase. You can, adjust based on the things that you actually want. So let's actually, think of parameters as like microscopic synapses in a digital brain. So I'm going to bring up the actual visual again so you guys can see it, right? So the less number of parameters you have, the less number of parameters you can tweak. The more number of parameters you have, the more parameters you can actually tweak, right? So if you actually, what we're going to show today is we're explaining what a 2 billion parameter model running on our local machine, and the big guys actually have trillion parameter models, right? Now you can run, 10 billion, 20 billion, maybe even 70 billion parameter models on your local machine. But again, I think that, once you get to past, 70 billion, 80 billion, I think the hardware you need to run these things become just insane. So we're going to talk about just 1, 2, 3, 4 billion parameters here on the show for local running. Sure, Gemma, I see. Have a question. You access the AI tool locally, correct? Yes. Do we have to download it? Yes. So we're gonna show you how to actually download it. So don't worry about that. We'll get into that question, how to actually install it. So think of the parameters, like I said, as microscopic synapses to the digital brain, right? So a 70 billion model has 70 billion of these synaptic connections. It knows more. It requires more server to actually hold the actual data. And today, we're actually, like I said, using a 2 billion parameter model, which is perfectly optimized to run fast and smooth on your personal machine without producing incredible, processing power, or won't require a lot of details to actually run run it on your machine. So if you have a 16 gig RAM hard drive, 16 gig of RAM on your computer, you should be able to run this with no problem. Makes
Quick
sense?
question.
Mm-hmm.
2 billion parameters. How many parameters or synaptics are there in the human brain?
Oh, I don't know. We can actually ask Gemini that. Let's see.
And my follow-up question is, how many parameters or quote unquote synaptics are there on the global World Wide Web TCP/IP system, or is that a bad question?
Yeah, I don't know if that one makes sense. How many neurons are in the human brain? All right, so if I could spell. All right, so again, I don't know how many. I'm gonna guess hundreds of billions, if not trillions. Let's see what it comes back with.
My guess is 126.
Oh, it says 86 billions. Interesting. But it's for a long time, the
Okay.
most commonly cited number is 100 billion. Interesting. Okay. All right. So I guess we need more technology to actually map the parameters. All right. So let's actually get into Mr. Silva's question. So he actually asked the question, how do I run this on my machine? Do we have to download it? What do I need to do? Do I have to have a subscription? And in other words, exactly how do we actually come to be able to install something like this? All right. So because today is the LLM Forge, right? This is episode 1. Just so if you're joining us for the first time, this is how we actually work here at Airhead. So Mondays is our very technical class, and then as we get through the week, on Fridays we get to the less technical class, the more philosophical debates. On Mondays we actually go every single Monday in the month of April, we'll actually go deeper and deeper and deeper in understanding local models, specifically using the ones by Ollama. So we're going to build on this lesson next week, Monday, and then the Monday after that, we're going to build on it, and then the Monday after that, we're going to keep building. So I think there's 4 Mondays in April, if I'm not incorrect. So we're going to have 4 classes on just talking about this thing. So if you don't actually understand, definitely ask questions, and if you want to be able to come to our Wednesday office hours, AI office hours, we can actually come to the Wednesday office hours. We can actually get personal hands-on training or hands-on explanation on anything you want outside of class. All right, AI Johnny. So first of all, we need to actually understand, where do we actually get something like this? So there is, I've been saying the word Ollama, right? So Ollama is the place where you can actually get open weight or open models that anybody can actually build on top of. So if you want to be able to get access to something like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Grok, any of those systems, the website itself is Ollama.com. So I'm going to actually drop it here in the actual chat so everybody can have access. So if you want to do this on your own or follow along, go to Ollama.com. All right, yeah, Johnny. So once we actually had Ollama.
Hang on. So the question we had was how to install this, and you were like, "Yeah, we're going to be talking about this all month," but you just told us how to install it, right?
Well, we're gonna get deeper. We're gonna get deeper and deeper and deeper on the lessons on Ollama. So this class is only just the foundational class to set up and install Ollama on your local machine, but then we're gonna build on top of Ollama all month long. I'm just explaining, how people did that.
But let me hammer through these questions. Do we have to download it? Yes. There's the command, right?
Well, I'm gonna get to the command in a second. I'm just going piece by piece.
All right.
Yep.
Go back. All right. As you were.
Yep. All right. So does anybody understand first? Yes, we have to actually go to Ollama.com to actually be able to first be able to know to actually download something. No, the question is, how do we actually install it? So there is on your terminal. So I'm using a Mac, but let's actually pretend as if you were on a machine that has Windows or a Linux. You need to bring up a terminal. No, if you're on Windows, you would bring up a command prompt. If you're on a Linux machine, you would bring up a terminal window. So because I'm on a Mac, you can actually go command space and then type in terminal. And then if you type in terminal, you're going to get a black screen like this. Okay, I'm going to say bye for now, just to exit. And you'll get a screen that looks like this. Okay, now that you actually have a screen like this, you're going to want to be able to go to Ollama and copy this command. This command is a curl command. It will actually bring down some files from the Ollama.com website. It's an install script. So you just hit this little button here. And what that would do is actually copy over onto your local machine that command. Once you actually paste that command in, now I already have it installed, so I won't run it, but you just paste it in your terminal and then press enter. And Ollama will automatically be installed on your local machine. So that's the first step.
What kind of resources is that going to gobble up? You said it'll run if you have 16 gigabytes of memory. What about hard drive space?
Yes, so Ollama, good question. So Ollama itself is a really small client that doesn't download any model. So Ollama lets you actually get access to any model you want. So we're going to actually get into what model we're going to be using. So if you actually run this command, hey Shauna, thanks for joining. Hey Seema, thanks for joining. All right. So if you actually see, if you actually run this command, it's probably going to take, maybe about, 15 to 20 seconds, depending on your internet speed. And it's going to actually go through the setup process. No, it's just press enter, accept the default commands, and everything will actually be installed for Ollama. No, once you actually have Ollama installed, you can type Ollama. And because you can type Ollama, it's going to ask you what you want to do. Do you want to chat with a model? Do you want to launch OpenClaw? Do you want to launch Claude Code? It has a bunch of options that you can use the up and down arrow. I'm going to talk about what models you can actually get. So if you actually go to the Ollama website, in the top here, there's a little hamburger menu. If you actually click and open that, it actually has models that are available. Okay. Jillian's actually asking, would you need Windows 11 or it will work on Windows 10? I think it doesn't matter. I think as long as you have a terminal window, it should work. But again, I haven't verified that on Windows 10. All right, so no, first of all, this is a directory of models that you can actually download. Now, this is the model that we're using, Gemma. This is what was latest released by Google, right? Only just 15 hours ago. So we're actually giving you guys the latest and greatest here from Google. Now, it doesn't mean that this is the only model you can actually download. We can look at many other download models. Gwen is a popular model that's actually on the from Alibaba. There are there are other models. There are models from Ministral. There's models from Microsoft. There's lots of models. And here's also a Kimiki model as well. So if you're not familiar with any model, just stick with the Gemini model for now, because that's a standard Google model. If you want to look out for a Facebook model, you can actually go get a Facebook model. But again, we're not going to talk about the different types of model here. Let's just talk about Gemma 4, because it's the latest model that Google has released. I see Abdul's actually asking, how is this different from using a web-based large language model? Great question. So the thing is, this is actually local. We're going to get into the details of the local model versus the cloud-based model. So this model itself is on your local machine. You get access to it. It's private. Nobody can see what you're actually talking to the model with. And then you said, can you train this model with your own data? Absolutely. So on episode, I don't remember which one, but I think episode 3, we're going to actually talk about fine tuning. So you'll be able to fine tune it with your own data. So catch up episode 3, 2 or 3 in either next week or the week after for that, to answer that question in depth. All right.
So
Yeah, Johnny.
one of the benefits of downloading this thing, I'm guessing there's a decent if once you download this model, is it actually downloading the data set onto your local drive?
Yes, so let's get into Gemma 4 specifically. So Gemma 4 is what's known as a version, which has a suite of models. Now, I'm going to make my screen a little bit larger here because I want everybody to understand what is going to happen here. If you notice here, this model is a vision model. It has tools, thinking, audio, cloud. Let's ignore those for a second because I don't want to get anybody confused. You notice these little funny letters here. This is a 2 billion parameter model. That's E2B. 4 billion parameters, 26 billion, and 31 billion. Now we're running the 2 billion model on our local machine. And the 2 billion model itself, let's just go here. The 2 billion model takes up about 7.2 gigabytes of storage space. And it has 128 kilobytes of context size. And its input is both text and image. If we were to go up to a bigger model, say for example a 4 billion parameter model, we would need 9.6 gigs, and it still gave us 128K of context space. Now check this out, AI Johnny. If I went to a 26 billion parameter model, it would take up 18 gigs of space, roughly double the size of the 4 billion parameter model. But I get a huge doubling of the context space. I actually get now 256K worth of context space. And as I get larger and larger, the model becomes smarter and smarter and smarter. The problem is if you don't have enough hardware, it will take a very long time to actually respond and think because the hardware requirement to actually run these larger models is actually quite high. So I want you guys to start out on the 2 billion parameter model first, and then you can actually work your way up depending on how powerful your hardware is.
So speaking about powerful hardware, so 20 gigabytes with modern equipment, I mean, you can get terabytes of data. That's 1,000 gigabytes. So 20 gigabytes doesn't scare me at all. What does scare me is that you have 20 gigabytes of in a data set, and if you only have 16 gigabytes of RAM, I can see where that would be slow. And so you want to have, and I guess you want to experiment with this. Download the light one, see how fast it is. Take a look at how much data you have on your local machine. If you think you can handle a bigger one, go for the bigger one. Is that kind of how the game goes?
So there's two parts to this. So one, being able to store the actual data set on your local machine, and then to be able to run what's known as inference. So inference is whenever you're talking to the actual large language model. So just like this, if I actually, we're gonna chat with the model. If you notice, it actually takes a little bit time to initialize. When we actually ask a question, it's actually running through its inference. The inference is how many of those parameters need to be activated to be able to answer your question. So if I were to ask a question, let's come up with a thinking question. What is the history of the universe and why are we here? Okay, so there really is no answer to this question, really, right? We have lots of things. So it's actually going to be thinking, and this is called inference. Now, the larger parameters itself in the model, the better your answers are going to be because the data set is bigger, and then the actual connections is actually much faster to be able to make that inference. The smaller the data set, is going to be less information in there, and it's also going to take less time to be able to answer your question. So if you see, it's actually spitting out quite a bit of information, and this is this thinking. At some point in time, it's going to start spitting out the actual answer. Now, if I were to try to run this on a on a 31 billion parameter, this would probably take me 20 minutes just to answer that one question because my hardware requirements, it requires a lot of what's known as VRAM or video RAM. So if you actually are not familiar with that terminology, don't worry about that for now. So see, it's actually still spitting out.
So when you're dealing with the large language model off on the cloud, you have the benefit of the fact that they have massive amounts of hardware. They have gigabytes and gigabytes of VRAM. They have local. They have random access memory. They have gigantic hard drives. You don't have to worry about any of that. But you give up your privacy, right? Everything you give, it goes into their thing. And so you want to bring it in locally so that I could see why like a school would want to run it locally, because then they can set the parameters on what students can access and can't access. They can basically be monitoring what's being done, where you can't do that if it's on somebody else's model. So there is good reason to bring it in-house. And if you bring it in-house, you're basically dealing with the same models. Some of them are smaller and more trimmed down or older because of the hardware constraints. But if you have enough hardware, if you have a decent enough, if you have a Mac Studio, that's got a ton of space, right?
Correct.
You can run it just as almost as efficiently as what's happening on the cloud, and have your privacy and control as well.
Yeah, so the closer you get to these, again, Google did not publish a 1 trillion parameter model, right? That's just not realistic. They didn't even publish a 90 billion parameter model. So what happens is they're actually not going to give consumers access to their secret sauce, right? So the ones that actually Google is running, ChatGPT running, there are hundreds of billions, sometimes I even hear trillion parameter models out there. So those we do not have access to. So they're kind of holding on to those richer data sets model because they know the consumers can't run it. And even if they were to put that out anyway, it probably would give away their competitive advantage for a cloud-based model. So yeah, so definitely if you're a school, if you're somebody who wants to reserve your privacy, running a 31 billion parameter model or even a 70 billion parameter model, which is available, you can download, is you'd require a little bit more powerful machine. I see a question here from Abdul. Is the training data set the same as the parameter count? No, it's not the same, Abdul. You can actually train, the same model, a 2 billion parameter model with massive amounts of data, depending on how good you want the actual results to be. So great question on that. All right.
We'll teach how to train in weeks 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think when weeks 2 or 3, we're going to talk about training, fine tuning specifically.
Another quick question: can we run this once we have our model downloaded? Can we run it offline?
Yes, all of this is offline, completely offline without internet connection. So let's actually go through and install another model. So I want to give you guys the ability to show you how to install a model. So we install Ollama on a machine. So I'm just going to clear the screen here. I'm going to say bye. And I'm going to just clear. Okay, so if I say Ollama, right, and I say dash help, or just help, it will actually bring up a bunch of commands that I can actually do. So I can actually type Ollama list. And if I say Ollama list, it will tell me all the models I have installed on the machine. So Ollama list. Okay, and if you see here, I actually have Gemma 4. I have Gemma 4 2 billion parameter model. I have Mistral Nima 12 billion parameter model. I have Llama 3 a 8 billion parameter model, and I have 5.3 a mini model. And these I actually played around with about 8 months ago with Ollama. Now, let's say for example, I need to install a specific model. So just because I want you guys to have the exact same thing, I'm going to remove this 2 billion parameter model here. So I would type Ollama. And there's a RM command here that says remove a model. Okay, so I'm just going to remove it. You don't need to do that. So Ollama RM, and I'm just going to type the name of the actual model. Okay, so I'm saying Ollama remove, and that just removed the model. Now, if I do Ollama list again, it will say that I do not have the Ollama, the Gemma 3, the Gemma 4 model available. So because you guys will not have it installed, we're going to do this together. So I'll go over to the Ollama website and I say, I really, really like the 2 billion parameter model. I will get a command here that says Ollama run Gemma 4 E2B. I will hit that copy button. I will go back over to my terminal. And then because I go back over to my terminal, let me clear that screen. I will just paste in that command, Ollama run Gemma 4 E2B. If I press enter, it's just going to go ahead and download that 7 gigabyte file. And it's going to, on my internet connection, it's going to take, it says estimate about 2 minutes. And once you actually have it installed, you now can talk to your Ollama your Gemma 4 model through Ollama. Does that make sense? I know it's a very technical episode. I want to make sure that everybody actually following along and understand. right. All right, yeah, Johnny. Let's actually talk about something else while this is happening. Now, I want people to understand that Ollama is just a tool. Ollama, the tool, gives you access to all of these models on various on your machine locally. Now, many companies are publishing these models. So Google is publishing this Gemma model for us to use for free, right? They don't want anything for it. They don't want you can actually use your code to actually interact with it. You can type to it. You can build local apps on it. You can build agents on it. You can do anything you want on that local thing. So Abdul's saying this is super cool. Is there a more user-friendly way to interface with these models and other than the terminal? Unfortunately, there is really no user-friendly tool what you're using, but they've built lots of third-party things that you can try to use. Again, when doing anything, just make sure you vet the security and the privacy of those third-party tools. But the default way is through the terminal. All right, yeah, Johnny. Let's actually get to the deep dive and actually understand what's going on.
Okay.
Let's talk about let's talk about.
Down. Go
ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, let's break down the logic of what just happened on the machine to learn the fundamental architecture, weights and context window and temperature and inference and all these terms you keep throwing at us.
Yep. All right. So, Mr. Silva actually said, what about the cloud usage limit between tiers? How do you know the quota usage? So the beautiful part about this is, and let me just explain the question. So the question is, does the local model have usage tiers? And the answer is no. And the reason being is that the models that Google or ChatGPT or anybody actually is providing, they actually have limits because these things are expensive to actually run. So they want to make money on their investment. So they want you to upgrade to a paid tier. When you're running it locally, when you're running this Gemma 4 model locally, there is no cost other than your hard drive space, your CPU, your electricity, and the hardware that you actually bought, whether it's a laptop or a Mac Mini or whatever it is you're running. All right, hopefully that answered the question. All right, so let's get into the actual deep dive for a second. So what's really happening behind the scenes? So because it's an AI class, I want you guys to understand the details of things. So we're talking first about weights, right? So when you download a model from the Ollama website, you're essentially downloading a massive multi-gigabyte pack full of weights, right? It's a file full of weights. Now, these are actual hard-coded numerical values assigned to every single parameter during the AI's training phase. Think of weights like the thickness of different pipes in a massive plumbing system. These control exactly how much water or data flows through specific connections that to arrive at the correct answer. If the pipe is too thin, the data doesn't flow, meaning the AI doesn't associate the two concepts together. So, example, if we talk about a king on a king could be a king on a chessboard. It could be the king on in a hierarchy, whatever it is. So you actually have to make those connections and you actually tweak those parameters. Let's talk about context window. So the context window itself represents the model's active short-term memory during your conversation. So Gemma 4 is unique because it supports a massive 128K context window, even on these tiny 2 billion parameter models. So to use an analogy, imagine your desk is a context window. A small desk means that you can read one page of document at a time before having to put it away. A massive context desk means that you can lay out a 300-page book flat in front of you, allowing the AI to reference the first chapter all the way to the last chapter simultaneously to give you a perfect summary without forgetting the original instructions. That's the context window. Let's get to temperature. So when we prompt the AI, it uses a specific temperature that is setting the control, the randomness and creativity of the text it generates. So if you set the temperature low, near zero, it acts like a strict literal accountant, giving you the most predictable answer. If you set it too high, it acts like a jazz musician improvising a solo, pulling in wild and creative ideas. And lastly, inference. The last definition is the exact moment I hit the enter button in the terminal, the machine started inference. This is the actual act of the model crunching the numbers through all the parameters. We have 2 billion of them in this model to generate the exact text token by token. It is the engine revving up to produce your answer after reading the blueprint. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense on these definitions: weights, context windows, temperature, and inference. All right.
Okay, folks, plug your ears. If you don't care about the heavy engineering, this is where Junior goes off a little bit off the deep end. So, Junior, technically, what advanced things are actually possible under the hood with the Gemma 4 architecture, and what makes it the one that's the most, well, it's the best today?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to tell you guys this is brand new. The reason why it's brand new, Gemma 4 only just released just last week, right? So the fact that the things are progressing so fast, you can get other models, but this is a huge context window. It has a 256K depending on what model you download, and it actually supports images. So this is actually pretty cool. So so there's some incredible advancements making it possible on a small machine. So first of all, there's something called a mixture of experts. So the mixture of experts architecture is arguably the biggest leap in efficiency for local models. So in a traditional dense model, every single parameter fires up to answer a simple prompt, so which requires massive amounts of RAM and processing power. Mixture of experts changes the game by breaking the neural network into specialized sub-networks or experts. So imagine a giant hospital. Instead of paging every single doctor in the entire building when a patient comes in with a sprained ankle, the receptionist just pages the orthopedic department. By only routing your prompt to the specific parameters that are experts in the topic, the model drastically reduces the computational load, allowing incredibly smart models to run smoothly on a standard 16 gig Mac Mini. That's the first thing. So mixture of experts is just genius what is actually being done, especially at the local level. So the next thing I want to talk about is agentic capabilities. That's amazing. So this goes far beyond just chatting in a terminal window. Because Gemma 4 has native function calling support, developers can build workflow that leverage true agentic capabilities. This means that this model isn't just a passive encyclopedia. It can be given tools and autonomy to use them. So if, for example, you can say a write Python script that connects your local large language model to your operating system, and then the AI could independently scan your download folder, recognize the newly saved PDFs, that's a financial invoice, and extract the data and automatically log it to a local Excel spreadsheet. So you can act as a digital employee. I know we actually did agentic flow in the month of March. The last thing that it actually does is reasoning. So the most critical part about Gemma 4 is that it's a very highly capable reasoning model, right? So traditional models act like incredibly fast autocomplete engine. This is actually very different and really advanced. So I applaud Google of actually putting this out available for people to actually download. All right, yeah, Johnny, did anybody fall asleep? Yes.
We've got some takeaways here, and since we're running short on time, I'm going to jump right into them. So if you do download this and start using it, one of the key takeaways is that you get total privacy for your business or college. You can analyze sensitive financial documents or client contracts without ever having to send your corporate data to a cloud server. This is also true if you're dealing with documents that have lesson plans for students, tests that are coming up that are not even done, tuition information, grading information. You don't want that stuff publicly available. So all that stuff would be better served if it was a local model than it was the model up in the cloud. It's got a thing called always-on brainstorming. You can outline marketing copy or write video scripts on your laptop while sitting on an airplane with absolutely no Wi-Fi. That was my question from earlier. And finally, there are zero viability costs. You can generate endless variations of business plans or emails without worrying about a cloud provider charging you per token. So it's less expensive, it's more private, and it's faster to do some of this stuff locally. So these are some of the takeaways. There are technical takeaways. Junior's got a few of them for you if we have time.
Yep, definitely. So we can actually build a local RAG pipeline. Again, if you don't know what that is, keep coming to the show, you'll pick up a more and more, like I said earlier. We can actually also do things like create autonomous data scrubbers, right? To monitor a local file system, to be able to just go do things when a file drops. You can actually do cheap fine tuning. So we can actually talk about that a little bit deeper in our episode 2 or episode 3. So make sure you come back to see that. Does anybody have any questions lined up? I know this is actually a technical episode again. These are Monday classes are very technical, and we get less technical as the week goes by. So, does anybody have any questions on what we actually taught here? Abdul actually is asking, if there's more privacy, less costs offline, what is the business model for companies offering these local models? Great question, Abdul. So the local models itself, they're not as powerful as the big boy models. So it's a way to be able to build something locally, build something cheap, and you stay within their brand. So Google wants you to use their free things, and eventually they're going to upgrade you to the big boy. Because if you notice here, when you looked at Gemma, I jumped over this. There is a cloud version of this. So if you need access to more processing power, you can actually switch automatically over to the Google version of it. So there's an upsell there. There's lots of other things they want to do, but support and extra XYZ. So we don't necessarily want to get into their long-term plans because I really don't know them. But there is they want to get you early in using their models. Great question. All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Queued up if we have time. We can do one of them maybe.
Sure. Wait, another question. Abdul says, honestly, a great first user business model from them. Yep. And Abdul, just to be clear, there are lots of models. Microsoft actually is dropping lots of models all the time. The Chinese companies itself, Alibaba is dropping lots of models. We actually see Tencent dropping models. So they're dropping models all the time, and you can actually check out all the models available. These are the popular ones, but you can actually see newest ones, and everything else is dropping. So this is Nemotron from NVIDIA. Lots of models available. Okay. All right, AI Johnny. Let's get to at least one question.
I've got a Mac user that wants to know, can I ruin my Mac by running these models locally?
I wouldn't use the word ruin, but your system will crawl to a really snail pace, and you're wondering, why is my machine running so slow? It's because your machine is actually trying to run inference, and because it's trying to run inference, it may not have enough resources. So if you see that your machine is running to a crawl, try to get a smaller model. Yeah, Johnny, before we actually cut, I wanted to show what the end result of that would look like. So if you notice here, guys, we ran that Ollama run Gemma 4 E2B command. And again, we took that from here, right? And if you want to be able to, once you actually got that, it automatically puts you in chatting mode. It actually said success, and we can say, what is, give me something, Johnny, give me something.
Photosynthesis?
You love photosynthesis. I can't even spell photosynthesis.
TOSYN THESYS SIS.
There you go. All right. What is photosynthesis? So if you see here, we actually are running the remember, I did delete that 2 billion parameter model. It's actually running through its inference right now. It's eventually going to start thinking, and eventually it's going to start spitting out data. All right, does anybody else have any, there, it started to think. It's actually saying, here's a thinking process that leads to suggested answer, deconstruct the request. So the user is asking, what is photosynthesis? It's going too fast, I can't really read it. But eventually it's going to start printing out the real answer after it thinks. So this is to show you that this is actually...
The point is that you did download it locally and it is answering. You can see that from this response.
That's
While
correct.
You're doing that, I'm going to jump into some news.
All right.
Google releases Gemma 4. This is exactly our tool of the day. They just dropped their most capable open models to date, specifically built for advanced reasoning and agentic workflows. You can read the full documentation at ai.google.dev/Gemma. You can post that into the chat if you want. Yep. Google also introduces Turbo Quant, unveiled at ICLR 2026. This is a memory compression breakthrough that significantly reduces the memory overhead caused by the KV cache. This is a massive win for running models with huge context windows locally. Very fitting. Solo founder possible. The new telehealth startup called MedV is on pace to hit 1.8 billion. Not bad for a startup in sales. Run entirely by a solo founder right from his home, completely powered by AI-driven automated workflows. Eat your heart out, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
All right, so the solo founder story is exactly why we do this. Personally, right after the show, I'm downloading Ollama and Gem 4 on my laptop. Turning off my Wi-Fi and making it build a sleeker web app to organize my chaotic desktop files. Make sure you join us tomorrow. We're moving from the technical back end to our Learner's Toolkit series. Tomorrow's episode is called The Ultimate Study Buddy, where we will use Google's free Notebook LM to turn dense, boring materials into an interconnected web of knowledge. You don't want to miss that, especially if you're in college or teaching in college. Junior, why don't you take us out?
Yep. All right. Thank you guys for hanging with us today. I know today was a technically, heavy episode. I know, if you guys stick with us on the Monday shows, you guys are going to pick up one or two things. So don't ever worry about it. I know as we go through the week, the episodes are going to become much lighter. All right. So just a quick reminder, sign up for a free Airhead account at www.airheadinstitute.ai. We teach AI every day at noon Eastern time every day. And also, if you're a paid member, join our Airhead office hours or Airhead after school on Wednesdays between 3 and 5 p.m. where you can bring all your questions. We'll help you with hands-on training, anything you actually want to know in our Airhead after school and Airhead office hours, AI office hours, Wednesdays at 3 to 5 p.m. All right. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Keep building.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead after school program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.